Hey, what is going on, guys? I got a very good video for you today. So I was doing some research on the internet, trying to figure out more topics for good videos to bring you guys. And something I stumbled across was an article. This article comes from delish.com, and it is titled, Fast food workers reveal what you should never order at their restaurants. Now there's 42 of these complaints from these employees, and I'm gonna go through all 42 of them, but just not on one episode. So I'm gonna go through the first 5, that way it's not too long. So before I get into this one, please know I do not work for any of these companies, and I do not have anything against any of these companies. So these employees are gonna tell you a problem, and I'm just gonna kind of answer my thoughts on it. 3, 2, 1. Pretty much the only thing I'd never order is a BLT. You're paying for like $6 for 2 pieces of toast and 2 strips of bacon. The problem is that the BLT is supposed to be made with 4 strips of bacon, 8 pieces, broken in half. But nobody does this, usually due to managers trying to invisibly cut costs, and that comes from Adron Skither. So the first question I have when reading this one is, why are you not doing the right thing? Everybody has this mentality in their head that, oh, if someone's not doing the right thing, I don't have to do the right thing. But honestly, if you want to make it anywhere in life, you have to break the status quo. You have to be the person and the leader that emerges, and you don't do that by not doing the right thing. You can go online and complain about not doing the right thing, but at the end of the day, you're the one not doing the right thing. So just give the guests the right amount of bacon. Second, it seems like there's a lack of experience. You say that managers are actually cutting corners to save costs, but at the end of the day, the recipe's already cost out. So if there's experience in that location, they should be looking at the reports and they'll see that they're growing bacon. So they should be going back to figure out why they have a growth. And honestly, if you want to see financial growth and good numbers, you have to get more people in the door. Sales cures all. That's what we say in the industry. Sales cure all. The more sales that you have, the easier it is to hide financial mistakes. So by giving the guests the right amount of bacon and the actual product that they're paying for, they're more likely to come back. Now I have an entire video that breaks down actual versus theoretical, which is what this is. When we're talking about missing or growing bacon, that is called actual versus theoretical, and that's gonna give you a variance in your inventory. So I have an entire video on this subject. So if you wanna learn more about that, I'm gonna link that video in the description. The next comment says, chili is a no-no. They never cycle their grease. They never clean the shake station. They never ever have enough employees to run the place properly, so nothing ever gets done. That comes from Commission 1888. So I was actually learning about this the other day. In 1969, Wendy's opened their first restaurant. Now, Wendy's whole gimmick and the reason they got so popular so quickly is because at the time, fast food restaurants were only using frozen beef. So they're really the first restaurant that came around and started pushing fresh beef. So with Wendy's using fresh beef, they realized that they were having a lot of waste. So what they decided to do was to use the leftover beef and the overcooked burgers and to make a chili out of that. So by making this chili, they were able to eliminate waste completely by putting all the leftover beef in chili instead of the trash. So again, this employee is talking about cleanliness. Cleanliness starts with everybody. Everyone needs to put their part in, but it does start with one person doing the right thing. And once one person's doing the right thing, it's gonna spread like cancer. So we need to start building our cultures in our restaurants to make sure that we're holding our product and our establishment in high regards, and we're gonna make sure that everything's getting cleaned. He also talks about not having enough employees. People don't want to work in a restaurant that's not being run properly. You have to understand that. You have to understand that if somebody's starting on day 1 and they walk in the kitchen and it's disgusting, they're not going to want to go back. You got to understand that if uniforms aren't tight, that the employee's not going to want to go back. You got to understand that if the food's not looking good, not tasting good, they're not going to want to go back. People want to work at a place that they're proud of and where they have good coworkers and a good working environment. So take pride in your establishment, take pride in your food, and take pride in your people. Do everything you can do to protect your people, and it really starts with the culture and the quality of the food and the quality of the restaurant. Let's look at Panera Bread and what these employees have to say. Any of the soups were frozen in a bag and shipped. They were thawed using a rethermalizer, a sink full of heating elements that boiled water. Yeah, well, that sink wasn't cleaned out all the time. Sometimes bags burst. Soup that survived was cut open with a pair of scissors, usually a pair from the manager's office or from the prep line. They weren't too picky during dinner rush. Then it was poured into a pitcher, then transferred to soup line. Problem, the pitcher was hardly ever cleaned. If poorly rinsed out, could be considered cleaning. Dominic Toaster. I work at Panera and refuse to drink lemonade unless I know I am the one who cleaned it the night before. I've witnessed my coworkers running water through it and setting it right back without using any sanitizer. All of the lemon pulp is still caked up on the side and they call it good. Mark Toasty. I'm kind of curious if Mark Toasty is the same person as Dominic Toaster. Well, Mr. Toaster, I'm gonna hit you on this again too. Like, you gotta do your part, you gotta take responsibility in here somewhere, you gotta make sure that you're getting stuff cleaned. As you can see when we're going through this, you notice that people don't like working somewhere where it's dirty and they think it's disgusting. But no one actually wants to take the first step and be the one that starts cleaning. So push the culture of having a clean restaurant. Everybody wants it. Don't be scared to tell people to clean. Take pride in what you're doing, have them take pride in what they're doing. If you're a manager, create a system of checks and balances. Have a checklist, have some sort of routine or some way that you make sure that every part of the restaurant gets cleaned every single day. Disperse it evenly throughout the shift. If you're staffing your restaurant correctly based on the amount of sales that you have, there should be more than enough people to clean your establishment for you. And real quickly, before I forget to mention this, he also talks about reheating frozen soups in a rethermalizer. Just so we're all aware, that's completely fine. As long as you get your soup up to 165 degrees within 2 hours and you hold it at 165 for at least 15 seconds. So a rethermalizer is actually okay. Let's check in with Little Caesars and see what they have going on. Don't ever get the breadsticks at Little Caesars. Literally tons of day-old butter are painted on the bread. I've seen coworkers pick up breadsticks off the ground and put them back in the bag just because they are in a rush. And that is from Nico6001. So here's the thing, Nico, if I saw someone do that, I would stop them right away and I would make sure that that food's not going out. It doesn't matter if I'm the one that made it or not. Get some courage, tell that coworker, hey, you're not doing the right thing. Here we do the right things. So if you don't want to do it, go find another job. That's disgusting. Nobody wants to eat that breadstick. I agree with you 100%. Second thing, butter's a fat. So if butter's sitting out for a day or two, it's actually safe to eat still. Because of the high fat content, it's not gonna grow bacteria like other foods. Now, it might be different if it's been out for a week or so, but in this case, it says it's only been sitting out for a day. Here's a little quick trick with butter too. If you have a 6-pan or something and you line it with cheesecloth, you can pour the butter through that and it'll actually strain out all the impurities. Tim Hortons, never actually eaten here. The soups are frozen and I have found maggots in them before. The sandwiches are all right, but it's iffy most of the time. I suggest sticking to the bagels and butter and cream cheese. Those aren't made in store, but it's better than pretty much anything else. I'm not a fan of Timmy's coffee drinks, but that would be the next best thing. That comes from Octopus Salad. All right, here's the thing. If you're getting your soups in frozen and there's bugs in it, that's not necessarily an issue with the restaurant. What the restaurant needs to do is send that product back to their vendor and they need to communicate with the rep that they're having issues with the product, and from there, the rep will contact the store letting them know what's going on. But absolutely, if you're finding bugs in your product, you should not be serving it. The other thing he mentioned was the quality of the sandwich. Here's what I like to do. I don't like to say that the sandwich isn't good without mise en placing it and building it from start to finish myself. So let's say you have a sandwich and you toast it with butter, and then you have mayo, lettuce, meat, cheese, whatever the toppings are. I'm gonna measure and weigh everything out, have it laid out with all the ingredients, and then I'm gonna go through the recipe step by step to make sure that I'm actually building the sandwich the correct way. Oftentimes, when you break something down into each ingredient, make sure it's measured and weighed correctly, the final product is completely different than what's actually being sold. Consistency and quality of the food only gets distorted if we're not having continual education. Last one, Jersey Mike's. I worked at Jersey Mike's Subs. The only thing I wouldn't eat is the chicken parmesan. It's a frozen pre-breaded chicken patty that we just microwaved for a few minutes that just turns into mush in the sandwich. It was gross. Stick to the cold subs or cheesesteaks. That's from Dr. Shackle. And then Mr. Ravioli Guy 12 says, no employee should ever touch a chicken parm or the meatball sub. The meatballs were frozen Tyson beef that are boiled and thrown in spaghetti sauce. No, I actually agree with you, gentlemen. Fresh food's gonna be better. I've never actually eaten at Jersey Mike's, so I don't know the business that well. I'm not sure why they're behind on their hot subs, but it sounds like they need to invest a little bit more money in research and development to making sure that they have good hot products. So I hope you had a good time going through this. If you see anything that you think I missed, just leave it in the comments, and I'm sure that people would love to read it. Also, if you're new around here or enjoy the content or learn something, please subscribe. My goal is to wrap my arms around this industry and help kitchen employees everywhere build and develop their careers.